Hey Biology, Mr. Wagner here. We're doing our notes today. So we're going to take out Note Packet, and we're talking about plant structure, function of leaves, and microscope use. The Note Packet for today. First page is basically going to be a summary. This is where you're going to write down stuff and summarize it so that you can simply go through and learn these terms and definitions really easily for the test when we have the test. Okay, so this is for you to do on your own, to fill in the definitions as you go through the packet. Otherwise, you're flipping through it. Where's that definition? If you got it, it's all right here on one page. So you have to recopy these on this page once you fill it in. All right, here's what we're going to do now. Please turn to page 1 in your note packet. So here it is right here. We're starting at the very top with biology, 2 Greek words. So let's do our PowerPoint and go from there. And we'll go to slideshow from the beginning. All right. So what is biology? Biology is 2 Greek words. Comes from bios, meaning life. If you're reading a biography, that's usually a story about a person's life. Maybe you've heard of a biodome experiment. That's where they take a giant dome and they kind of isolate it from the outside world, and inside this dome is living things. It's usually people, plants, animals, other things like that, and they do it for scientific investigation purposes. They usually have them stay in this biodome for maybe like 6 months or a year or 2 years or something like that. Anything with bio on it means life. So your biography that we talked about, or anything at all with bio means life. Logi means study of. So biology is literally the study of life. Study of life. Again, as we go through this, if I'm going kind of fast, you can pause the video at any time to fill in your notes, or you can go back and rewatch it. So if I go too fast, just pause the video or go back and rewatch it. 3 major fields of biology. They include botany, which is the study of plants, human anatomy and physiology, the study of structure and function. So anatomy literally means structure. That's how something is put together, how it's built. And physiology, not psychology, physiology means function, the study of how it works. Very often we're going to find in our body that the structure of an organ or the structure of something inside of our body determines how it functions. So in other words, our heart has 4 chambers, and 2 of the chambers receive blood, 2 of the chambers are pumps that pump blood out. So its structure is built to receive and then to pump out blood. That its structure helps its physiology or its function. So know those 2 words. Anatomy means structure, physiology means function. And finally, zoology, study of animals. That's where we get our word zoo. A zoo is a place where you go to see animals. Why study biology? Well, first of all, you are living. The food you eat is or was living. You are surrounded by living things, whether that's other people, whether that's animals, whether it's plants, whether it's even microbes that are all around us. Those are some good reasons. Botany. Let's talk first about plants. That's going to be our first unit. Why study botany? All of our food comes from plants. About 2/3 directly from plants and about 1/3 from animals who eat plants. Many drugs and antibiotics used in medicines come from plants. Antibiotic. Let's see what that word means again. We got the word bio. Bio means life. Anti means against. Antibiotic is something against life? That doesn't seem to make sense, does it? Why would you take something that's against life? Well, antibiotics are usually specifically designed to go against a very specific life form. Basically, some kind of a virus, a living virus that's inside of you that shouldn't be inside of you, that's probably making you sick. So when you take an antibiotic, you're literally taking a pill that's against the living thing inside of you that shouldn't be inside of you. So it's not against all life. It's not going to kill you. It's only going to kill the thing inside of you that's causing the disease or the infection or that shouldn't be there. Antibiotic. Many plants and plant products are vital to industry. So we use plants and plant products to find medicines or to make things that are important for manufacturing. Should be at the bottom of page 2 in your notes, and we're going to talk about the parts of a plant. There are 4 external parts of a plant that are considered organs. So their organs don't look like necessarily like ours, but all plants have at least 4 organs. An organ is this functional and structural unit made of tissues. We'll talk about this on another video. Structural and functional unit made of tissues. Parts of a plant. Flowers. Flowers are the reproductive part of the plant. Not all plants have showy flowers. Some plants don't have any flowers at all. Most plants have flowers, which with flowers will produce fruit and seeds. Fruit and seeds. And we'll talk about that in our next unit, Unit 2, which will specifically talk about flowers, fruits, and seeds. Here's an example of what a flower looks like. I think this is a black-eyed Susan or a daisy, one of the two. I'm not specifically sure. They have leaves. Leaves are the food factory of most plants. Leaves go through photosynthesis to produce sugar for the plant. There are many different types of leaves. Photosynthesis is probably the single most important function that happens on this planet. Without it, there would be no life. So photosynthesis is literally taking the sun's rays and changing them into chemical food energy. Plants do this through the process of photosynthesis. We'll study that a little bit later on in this unit, but just know how important it is. That without living plants, there would be no other animals on this earth, because all plants, or all animals I should say, either eat plants or they eat other animals that eat plants. That eat other animals that eat other animals that eventually eat plants. So plants are the basics of life form on this planet. That's how God designed it. Here's an example of what a leaf looks like. Notice how it's broad green in color. The green in color comes from the chlorophyll in the photosynthesis process. All plants have a stem. This is what holds up the leaves and flowers. It also transports substances and can transport food. There are 4 main groups of plants based on the type of stem. 4 main groups based upon the type of stem that they have. First one, a tree. A tree has a single, tall, woody stem. By woody we mean like hard, made out of wood, hard. Single, tall tree. Everyone knows what a tree looks like. A shrub, that has several low woody stems. So if you look at a shrub, usually it's got these wooden, kind of like almost like branches, but they're pretty big and thick around. And there's several of them that stick out, and then the shrub grows from there. A herb has a non-woody plant, sometimes called herbaceous stem. So in other words, you're thinking like a flower. A flower has a stem, like a rose or something like that, but notice that the stem is not super strong. It's not made out of wood. You can easily bend or break it with a little bit of effort. And finally, a vine. It can be woody or herbaceous. It grows along the ground or has tendrils that help it to climb. So the 4 main groups of plants are either tree, shrub, herb, or vine. So here's an example. On the top left, you see basically the herbaceous. On the top right, you see what would be a shrub. On the bottom left, you see a tree, a small, single, woody stem. And finally, on the bottom right, you see the tendrils of a vine. The last part of a plant is the roots. They anchor the plant to the ground, absorbs water and nutrients for plant growth, and stores food. There are 2 types of root systems. You either have the taproot system. The primary root grows straight down and stays larger than the secondary root. If you think of a carrot, from those Bugs Bunny cartoons, Bugs Bunny will reach down, pull up a carrot. A carrot is literally a giant root that's kind of swollen and filled with materials and stuff, and it's usually orange in color. But that is one giant root. When you're eating a carrot, you're eating the taproot. And the other kind is fibrous. Fibrous is a whole bunch of little fibers that stick out all around the ground. We'll give you some examples, but one example is grass. You can see some pictures in the next one here. So here's what a taplet looks like. Notice that there's mainly one main root. Imagine that being a little bigger and broader and orange in color. You can see exactly how it looks like a carrot. That's a taproot. And the other one is fibrous. Fibrous root, lots of tiny little fibers all growing around like grass, and it anchors the plant in really well. A good question might be, which one of these is better for holding a plant in place? Which one of these is better to protect the plant against soil erosion? Well, if I have a whole bunch of little fingers grabbing on, like the fibrous, that's going to be a lot stronger than a single large root. So a taproot usually is not as sturdy. If I wiggle that back and forth a little bit, or like in the Bugs Bunny cartoon, if I grab it hard enough, I can pull that thing right out. So a taproot is not very good for anchoring the plant. Okay? Fibrous roots are much better against soil erosion. So when the water comes in and wants to erode the soil and carry the plant away, a fibrous root system will grab on and make sure that it doesn't go anywhere. It serves as a much better anchor. There are also special leaves. Special leaves have a special design for a very specific task. These are considered leaves because buds appear by them and they have the same tissue structure of leaves. So tendrils. A tendril is a special leaf that coils around support structures. We saw it in this other video, in this picture. Let's go back a little bit. Here it is right here. You can see how it coils, and it crawls up, and as soon as it finds something to latch onto, it'll latch on it and start coiling around it. That's what a tendril looks like. It's a very special type of leaf, used specifically for support. A spines. Example would be like on a cacti. They lack chlorophyll, so they cannot use the sun's energy to make food. Spines. Leaves of a Venus flytrap, the sundew plant, pitcher plant, I'm going to move my picture up here, or the bladderwort. These are designed to trap insects. So if you have an example of a Venus flytrap, it looks like this. The fly lands on, starts crawling along, and then the leaves close up, and then it slowly digests and eats the fly. And then here's some examples of what they look like. These are some spines up here on the top left. Here's your tendrils on the top right. And the bottom left is a Venus flytrap, and the bottom right is a sundew. The sundew has these little sticky little things on it, and it smells good. So when the fly comes in there and wants to have some of the nectar or whatever it might have, it gets stuck on this bulbous little thing, and the plant will actually then start to fold over as it's doing here and wrap around the fly, and then it starts digesting it and taking all the nutrients and actually eating the fly. That is a sundew, that one there. There are also some special kind of stems. Special kind of stems that we can find. So, stems are mistaken for roots because of their location. Sometimes a stem can be very, very low down, and people think it's a root because it's a little bit underground, but it's not necessarily a root. So a stolon. A stolon is a runner that aids in asexual reproduction. Example would be a strawberry. When we say asexual, that means you do not need a partner to reproduce. Asexual means they're reproducing and they don't need to have sex. They don't need a partner. You can reproduce on your own. The rhizomes. These are horizontal stems that grow underground. An example would be like ginger and iris. So if you ever go to the store and you buy ginger root, it looks like this bulbous thing with a whole bunch of little bulbs on it. This is basically a rhizome. It's a stem that runs and grows underground, like very lightly underground, but it's not a root. And this holds all the different flavor and all the different nutrients in it that gives it its value. Tuber. Tuber is the swollen ends of the rhizome that store food. A potato is called a tuber. It's literally a stem of a plant that's found underground that holds all the nutrients. That's a tuber, potato. And finally, the bulb. The bulb is a vertical underground shoot that stores food. An example would be the onion. An onion grows directly underground, and it goes straight up and down, and it stores nutrients. Okay. External structure and function of leaves. Let's talk about that. The plant system. What is a system? A system is a group of structures designed to function together as a unit to perform a particular job for the organism. A group of structures designed to function together as a unit to perform a particular job for the organism. Let's give us an example of what we're talking about. Two kinds of systems. There's the root system, parts of the plant that ordinarily under the ground, organ-involved roots. So the main one of the root system is the roots. It could also be if you had a stem that's underground, like we talked about before with the rhizomes and the tubers, that would also maybe be part of the root system. And finally, the shoot system, the part of the plant which is usually found above the ground. It often includes the stem, the leaves, and the flower. So it's pretty easy. If you're above the ground, you're the shoot system. If you're below the ground, you're the root system. That's pretty easy to do. Pretty easy to know, and they rhyme, so you can make the root and shoot. Let's talk a little bit about the parts of a leaf. First of all is the blade. I'm going to move my picture over here. The blade. The blade is the flat green portion of the leaf. That's not too difficult. The petiole. The petiole is the leaf stalk. Leaves that lack a petiole or are sessile leaves. So let's look on the picture here. If we see the petiole, is it on there? There it is. It's like the little stem, the stalk that attaches onto the branch. The margin. The margin is the edge of a leaf, just like your paper has a margin. Or when you go to do a Word document, you want to set the margins. The margins are always on the very edge. So a margin of a leaf is the very edge of the leaf. The vein. These carry sap through a plant. So you can see all the different veins that are in there. Those little tiny lines that are coming in, those are all veins. The stipule. Small leaf-like structure that covers a leaf as it is growing. So you can see the stipule is right there. It's very tiny, and you're thinking, that doesn't really cover it. Well, imagine when this leaf is first forming from a little bud. It's small and it's growing. The stipule actually is there to protect it as it grows from too much damage from the sun. Acts like a little covering. And then this leaf, of course, is full grown. It's well outgrown the stipule. It doesn't need its help anymore. The base is the bottom edge of the leaf. And there it is one more time. There's also things like the apex, the midrib that runs down the middle, and everything else should be listed there. Label diagram on the next page. Don't look back at the prior picture. So take a moment, see if you can label this. Stop the video right now. Give it a try. When you're all done, it's okay if you get it wrong. Getting things wrong is what scientists do all the time. And getting things wrong simply means that you're going to learn something. So don't be afraid to get anything wrong in my class. It's okay to get things wrong in my class. That's all part of learning. You're expected to do that. Okay, start the video back up again when you've got the answers down and you can check them. All right, hopefully you got the leaf blade, lamina, the apex, the vein, the midrib, the petiole, stipule, stem, and the axil. The axil is pointed right there. I'll move my picture again so it's a little bit out of your way. Perfect. There are three basic types of leaves. There are broad leaves. Broad leaves are usually flat. Include things like the rose, the dandelion, the maple, and the lilac. So if you pick a leaf off, it's pretty much flat in shape, flat kind of leaf. Checking my notes here, so give me a moment. We have long leaves. Those are narrow leaves like grass, dandelion, onions, and palms. Anything that's kind of long and narrow would be considered a long leaf. And finally, needle-like or scale-like. Think of like a pine tree, a fir, a cedar, or a spruce. So broad, long, or needle or scale-like. Three basic types of leaves. You look at something, you can either say it's a broad leaf because it's kind of wide, it's narrow and thin, it's going to be a long leaf, or it's not a leaf at all, it looks like a little needle or looks like a scale. Three basic types of leaves. Okay. You should be completed all the way through page 6 in your notes. That's all the farther we're going to go today. All right, take care, God bless, and we'll see you soon.